Hello, welcome to the Lean presentation. Management, and especially the topic on identifying and eliminating waste, which is one of its fundamental pillars. Lean management originated at Toyota, and its main goal is to ensure that every step in the process makes sense and add value to the customer. Everything else, activities that consume resources but do not bring any benefit, is referred to as waste or mada in Japanese. Waste can be found practically everywhere in factories, hospitals, administration, and in everyday life. Typical examples are long waiting times, unnecessary paperwork, or excess inventory. These may seem like small things, but when they add up, they cost the organization a lot of money, energy, and time. The goal of today's lesson is to show how to reorganize waste, what form it takes, and what methods exist to help us eliminate it. We will discover that eliminating waste leads not only to lower cost, but also to higher quality, faster processes, and happier customers. In other words, if we learn to see waste and systematically eliminate it, we open the way to more efficient, successful, and sustainable organization. You might be asking, why does waste need to be addressed like this? Isn't it just a natural part of every process? Lean management makes it clear. Every step that does not add value to the customer is unnecessary and costs us time and money. Waste leads to higher costs, longer lead times, and often also to deterioration in the quality of services or products. When we think about it, we find that eliminating waste has a number of specific benefits. Lower costs, eliminating unnecessary activities such as material, energy, and human labor. Higher productivity, employees spend time on meaningful activities instead of waiting or filling out unnecessary forms. More satisfied customers, thanks to smoother processes, they receive the product or service faster and in higher quality. More sustainable businesses have less waste, less resources consumption, and more efficient operation also mean less environmental burden. Fujio summed it up aptly, former president of Toyota. Waste is everything except the minimum amount of materials, time, and labor required for production. In other words, if we learn to identify and eliminate waste, we will gain a competitive advantage that will be reflected in all areas of the organization function. To effectively eliminate waste, we must learn to recognize it. Toyota originally defined 7 types of waste, and today an 8th is often added. The acronym TIMWOODS is used to remember them. T for transportation, unnecessary movement of materials, documents, or information. Every extra step is extra time and energy. I for inventory, too much materials or finished goods in stock. Inventory ties up money, takes up space, and often becomes obsolete. M for motion, excessive worker movement, such as searching for tools, frequent transfer between departments, all of which reduces productivity. W for waiting, lost time when people or machines can work because they are waiting for materials, information, or approval. O for overproduction, producing more than is needed or sooner than is needed. Overproduction is often considered the worst kind of waste because it creates more inventory, movement, transportation. O for overprocessing, when we make something more complex than necessary. For example, we create over-detailed reports that no one reads, or we give the product features that the customer will not appreciate. D for defects, errors and defective products or services. Each error means repair costs and often customers' dissatisfaction. S for skills, or untapped potential of people. If we do not use the knowledge, skills, and ideas of employees, we miss a huge opportunity for improvement. TIMWOODS gives us a simple framework that allows us to look at processes in new light and start to uncover waste where we might not expect it. Now that we know the different types of waste, let's show how we can identify them in practice. Awareness alone is not enough. We need tools and methods that will help us systematically detect waste. One of the methods is Hoshin Kanri. This is a strategic approach that connects long-term goals of the company with everyday practice. Thanks to it, we focus not only on activities that really contribute to achieving value for the customer. Everything else can be described as waste. Another method is called the Gemba walk. Managers or supervisors walk directly into the workplace, to the factory, office, or department, and observe processes in real time. They can see with their own eyes where people are waiting, where they are moving unnecessarily, or where the supplies are piling up. Waste is also a useful tool. Identification diagram, which helps us visualize and categorize identified forms of waste. Visualization makes it easier to discuss problems and find solutions together. In addition to these methods, there are also classic lean tools such as 5S, Kaizen, or the PDCA cycle. They all have common goal to simplify processes, eliminate unnecessary things, and create an environment where waste is immediately visible. Identifying waste is not a one-time task. It's an ongoing process that requires the involvement of all employees and openness to new ideas and willingness to challenge existing ways of working and thinking. To show how waste identification works in practice, let's look at an example from a retail shop. In one store, managers noticed that employees were spending a lot of time on unnecessary trips to restock. Each worker had to go to a remote warehouse several times a day, find the right items, and carry them to the sales floor. This time and movement added no value to the customer. It was a clear example of waste. The company conducted Gemba walk, an on-site analysis. They found that the goods were arranged inefficiently in a warehouse and employees often had to walk long distances. The solution was to reorganize the warehouse. Frequently replenished items were placed closer to the store, clear zones were created, and employees were given mobile devices that allowed to monitor inventory in real time. And the result? Significantly higher work efficiency, less physical effort for employees, and faster shelf replenishment. This also led to more satisfied customers who found that they were looking for on shelves more often. This example shows us that identifying waste is not just a theory. Even a small change in the design of process can have a big impact on the performance of entire organization. Lean management is not just for manufacturing or retail. It also works very well in software development. A common problem in IT project is overprocessing, adding features that the customer don't actually need. Companies sometimes invest months of work into complex features only to find that the user never uses them. This is a clear form of waste. Time, money, and human resources are used up, but the customer gets no value from it. The solution is to use agile and lean startup principles. Developers create so-called minimum viable product, a product with only the features that are necessary. Then they immediately test it with the users, collect feedback, and use it to determine what to develop next. Regular customer meetings and clear prioritization of features means that the team only invests energy in what customers really want and use. The result? Faster time to market, lower costs, and software that truly meets user needs. This example shows that waste does not have to be just in form of physical inventory or unnecessary movement. In digital environment, waste is mainly manifested in poorly set priorities and unnecessary complexity. Waste doesn't just occur in manufacturing, retail, or IT. It can be found in all sectors, which is why lean management has such a wide range of uses. Consider healthcare. A typical example of waste is long patient wait times. The patient is sitting in a waiting room and the system is not yet working efficiently. Another problem is duplicate tests. When a patient undergoes the same examination multiple times because the results are not shared between departments. In the field of logistics, inefficient route planning is a waste. If a truck is empty because the return route wasn't optimized, it is unnecessary cost, time, and emissions. Similarly, in administration, we find waste in forms of unnecessary approval steps, unnecessary complex forms, or too much documentation that no one actually uses. And even in education, forms of waste occur. For example, when students receive duplicate learning materials or when outdated teaching methods are used that do not produce the expected results. These examples show that waste is not just about physical processes, but about any activity that consumes resources but doesn't add any value. Thanks to lean principles, we can detect and eliminate them in any environment. When a company manages to systematically eliminate waste, the results are visible very quickly. The main benefits include cost savings, eliminating unnecessary steps, and activities means less consumptions of materials, time, and energy. Also higher quality. When defects and duplications are eliminated, the customer receives more reliable product or service. Faster processes, less waiting, and smoother workflow, shorten delivery times. More satisfied customers and employees. The customers will appreciate the quality and speed, while the employees will appreciate less stress and less unnecessary work. The sustainability, less waste and means less environmental impact and more efficient use of resources. But on the other hand, there are also some challenges we talked about. Resistance to change. People are used to doing things a certain way, and change can be very scary for them. The need for long-term discipline, because eliminating waste is not a one-time project, but an ongoing process that requires regular attention. Also, the need for involvement of all employees, because lean only works when everyone actively participates in it, from management to line workers. And time is an investment, because implementing lean methods sometimes require investment in training, reorganization, or new technologies. In other words, eliminating waste brings clear benefits, but only to those organizations that have the courage to change established practices and want to work on improvements over long term. We are coming to the end of today's presentation, waste in lean management. We have seen that waste is anything that consumes our resources, time, money, or energy, but does not add any value to the customer. Eliminating waste is a key step towards greater efficiency and competitiveness. We learned about 8 types of waste, known by the acronym of Tim Woods, as well as methods for identifying waste, from the Gemba walk to waste identification diagram. We showed real-world examples from retail, where warehouses reorganization reduced replenishment times, to software development, where eliminating redundant features led to faster time to market. We saw that waste also occurs in other areas, such as healthcare, logistics, and education. The main message is clear. Eliminating waste is not a one-time event, but a continuous process. It requires the involvement of all employees, discipline, and the courage to change established procedures. Waste can be identified and eliminated. The result is lower cost, higher quality, faster processes, and happier customers and employees. In other words, the path to efficiency and sustainability begins with learning to look at our processes through lean eyes and asking, does this activity really need add value?